in Banjul and from our studios on MDI Road, this is the news, but first the headlines. President Adama Barrow returns home to Banjul after an official visit to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. A panel of 5 judges of the Supreme Court set aside an unspecified date to deliver judgment on the constitutional immunity claim by the embattled former junta member and one-time Minister Yankuba Toure. Finance Minister Mambouri Njai presents the 2021 appropriation bill before lawmakers at the National Assembly. U.S.-China relations hit rock bottom under Donald Trump's presidency, despite a deal that was supposed to put their trade battles behind them. And China condemns war crimes committed by Australian soldiers in Afghanistan. Well, these plus much more coming ahead in this edition of the news with me, Aissatou Keita, and thanks for joining us. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the news. We begin this bulletin with the presidency as President Adama Barrow has just returned from an official visit to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Gambian leader described his visit as a successful one that availed him the opportunity to brief his Nigerian counterpart, Muhammadu Buhari, on the progress of Gambia's democratization process. President Barrow spoke to waiting journalists at the foot of the aircraft moments after he jetted at the Banjul International Airport. Let's take a listen.
His Excellency President Adama Barrow returns home from Nigeria, where he was the guest of President Muhammadu Buhari of Nigeria. The Gambian leader was met on arrival by service chiefs. Whilst in Nigeria, President Barrow and President Buhari discussed issues revolving around strengthening bilateral issues between the two countries. And after arriving, President Barrow spoke to the waiting media about his visit to Nigeria.
Purposely, the visit is just to go and update President Buhari. Gambia, we are in a transition, and now it's almost 4 years. And they are our partners in the transition. And Nigeria have been very, very supportive. Personally, Buhari have been very, very supportive to the Gambia. I deem it fit to go there and update him the state of affairs in the Gambia. Basically, it was all about that. And also we talk about our bilateral relationship, how to strengthen our relationship. Because they are supported in different areas. Justice, judiciary, education. The trip is very, very positive. I was there with my Minister of Justice. We needed more technical support. He engaged in a bilateral discussion with the Minister of Justice. The message was very, very clear. Send us a request, we're going to help you. It was very, very clear, very direct. Buhari himself, he assured us that he is going to support Gambia and he's going to support this transition period. They want Gambia to succeed. To him, definitely he is satisfied with what I told him, and he is ready to work with us in the future to make sure we succeed as far as our transition is concerned.
Nigeria and the Gambia had a long-standing relation, and the two presidents have been working very closely to consolidate the already existing cordial ties between Banjul and Abuja. Nigeria have been very supportive to the Gambia's democratization process, playing a pivotal role in various aspects of the country's transition process. Mohamed Jallo, GRTS News at the Banjul International Airport.
Now let's turn our attention to legal matters because a panel of 5 judges of the Supreme Court led by the Chief Justice Hassan B. Jallo on Friday set aside an unspecified date to deliver judgment on the constitutional immunity claim by the embattled former junta member and one-time Minister Yankuba Toure. The panel of the Apex Court made the unanimous decision after both the state defense and a group of human rights lawyers who appeared as friends of the court filed and adopted their briefs for arguments for consideration. The decision by the Constitutional Court will determine whether Mr. Yankuba Toure is immunized from prosecution or not based on the 1997 Constitution and his portfolio as former member of the AFPRC. The accused, Yankuba Ture, was a former junta member and one-time minister of the defunct military council, which overthrew the democratically elected regime of the late President Jawara in July 1994. Mr. Ture is being tried on a murder charge for his alleged participation in the murder of Usman Koro Sise, former junta finance minister who mysteriously died in June 1995 at the residence of Mr. Ture in Kololi. His arrest and prosecution came following his refusal to testify before the Truth Commission in June 2019 to explain the circumstances that led to the killing of his late cabinet colleague and one-time finance minister Usman Koro Sise. Mr. Ture, however, denied any wrongdoing, and since then he is being detained at the State Central Prison at Mile 2. In trying to establish a prima facie case, the state prosecutors presented 9 witnesses before declaring the closure of their case, while the defense called 3 witnesses, including the accused himself, when Mr. Ture initially appeared before the Truth Commission in June last year to explain the circumstances surrounding the death of the late junta finance minister Usman Koro Sise. Ture raised the issue of constitutional immunity and refused to testify, prompting the state prosecutors to charge him with murder. Now, the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs on Friday presented the 2021 appropriation bill before deputies at the National Assembly. The document outlined several sectors undertaken during the year and also highlighted the decrease in economic growth due to the coronavirus pandemic. Umijai reports on the bill that is set to be debated on by parliamentarians later on Monday.
The finance minister finally fulfills his constitutional mandate on budget delivery, tabling the appropriation bill before deputies at the National Assembly. His statement outlined several hindrances to domestic growth which slowed down the economy, citing the global pandemic as the main cause of fiscal retardation. The finance minister's statement also highlighted major fiscal developments, detailing sectoral activities during the period under review. The 2020 fiscal year saw huge challenges, especially during the surge and the first wave of COVID-19. Minister Njai further explained the rationale behind the slow growth of the Gambia's GDP, which was particularly affected by problems faced in the tourism sector, which took the hardest hit from the pandemic with travel restrictions and a drastic drop in demand and services, cutting revenue.
COVID-19 has severely crippled the tourism sector and damping economic activities throughout the country. The tourism sector immediately felt the shock of the virus when it was declared a global pandemic, even before a single case was registered in the country. From April to October, the Gambia was in a declared state of emergency with a number of restrictive measures put in place, including the closure of scale down of businesses, schools, markets, restaurants, and nightclubs.
The first wave of the virus totally shut down the economy, affecting several sectors that might only begin to experience growth next year.
Real GDP growth is projected to decline significantly from 6.1% in 2019 to negative 1.5% in 2020. This is on account of a contraction growth in the service sector emanating mostly from the wholesale, retail trade, and tourism subsector.
The pandemic also impacted national development, with shortfalls derailing the execution of the budget, forcing government to restructure and reprioritize expenditures that came as a result of COVID-19.
The reprioritization of the NDP will be finalized by end March 2021, and the process of formulating a new medium-term development plan will be initiated in the third quarter of 2021. The evaluation of Vision 2020 has been concluded. This evaluation will help guide the formulation process of Vision 2020 successor.
A raft of reforms are being rolled out towards the coming year to save the country's finance sector, but Minister Njai said these will only begin to take effect in January 2021.
With effect from January 2021, payments of salaries and pensions would be made electronically. Civil servants and pensioners would be required to indicate their mode of payment, such as direct payments through commercial banks, microfinance institutions, or mobile money operators. The implementation of the government Treasury single account is in progress.
The communications sector is expected to see a major boost in 2021 to facilitate the movement of the state broadcaster from analog to digital operations.
A partnership has been signed with Digital Gambia Limited and ESCA for the implementation of a digital terrestrial transmission project, which will allow GRTS switch from analog to digital broadcasting nationwide, thereby ensuring distribution of quality services.
With major growth forecasted for 2021, partner support grants are expected to effectually increase from 7.3 billion to 12 billion, while gross expenditure is expected to increase from 25.6 billion to 31.9. New revenue measures are additionally targeted to effect from January 2021 with increased tariffs on tobacco products in the Gambia. While the country anticipates a promising fiscal turn next year, the finance minister's marathon deliberation outlined several bright spots that could boost growth in 2021. On Monday, deputies will debate the 2021 appropriation bill at the Assembly chambers, where they will deliver their insight on the document. Ominjai, GRTS.
Well, we will continue with parliamentary matters because lawmakers have been reacting to the 2021 appropriation bill after the document was tabled before them. Afatu Elika Mulushi sounded the thoughts of some lawmakers and other government officials, and this is our report.
The bill highlights projected spending, government's fiscal policy and programs for the year 2021. The finance minister gave an exhaustive deliberation on planned programs and key developments envisioned for 2021. A contrast of the fiscal outlook of preceding years shows the far-reaching effects of the global pandemic on the country's economy. COVID-19 also caused significant spikes in expenditure and slow revenue input, signaling a critical period ahead for economic recovery as a whole. The country witnessed a negative decline of growth that has not been experienced in 9 years. Those grim outcomes has led to new priorities, focusing on boosting the service sector and agriculture towards a projected rebound of 5.9% in 2021.
In 2021, we said the leading sector is agriculture. And so far what we have is a bumper harvest. And that alone, we said tourism and agriculture, they are the growth drivers. But what tourism is really very down, but agriculture, thank God that we've been able to have a bumper harvest. Yes, we've lost revenue, but we have also been able to come up with very stringent policies in terms of expenditure control, and that has given us a lot. We have not been borrowing. That is why right now in the market there is a lot of liquidity. Our fiscal discipline remains strong, intact, and that's the momentum we want to continue.
The country lost about $2 billion in 2019 as costs incurred in the purchase of medical equipment in building resilience against the COVID-19 pandemic. Recovery will require the implementation of tax regulation mechanisms to mitigate the ever-growing budget deficit, which now stands at $9.6 billion compared to previous figures of $6 billion.
And he indicated that from now on, effective 1st of January, all those who requested for the duty waiver and other tax exemption has to be endorsed by Minister of Finance. And if you look at the figures that he quoted, we normally lose a lot of revenue due to this tax exemption ranging from duty waiver and other exemptions. So I believe that if that area is taken care of, it's going to give us a lot of savings. And as a tax advisor to the minister, I think I am very happy that he mentioned that, and it is categorically spelled out in the budget speech. Yeah.
The new tax reforms could affect a number of products, including tobacco, which will be revalued with an increased rate that could see a pack of cigarettes previously costing $25 hitting $30 by January 1st, 2021. Inflation has not made a significant change, as highlighted by the minister, who indicated that a number of sectors are accorded just enough to sustain salaries and will not gain additional allocation for other budgetary purposes or programs. NAMS hailed the minister and his team for putting great efforts into the budget design after the Finance Committee advised cutbacks in the total budget estimate.
I am impressed because prior to the finalization of the budget, the National Assembly members really had 2 weeks to go through it. If you look at the initial budget that was presented and the final copy now, there's a huge difference. The members were able to cut down the deficit by 2 billion, and a lot of money had been transferred from one section to the other. For example, the agri sector and the health sector, these are sectors that are really important.
First of all, many people will talk to you about the productive sectors of the economy. That is where we need to, pump most of these resources. And I fully agree with them. I mean, there was a time I said, okay, I mean, we have been pumping money on the productive sector of the country. And equally, my stand is also to pump more money on the youth sector as well, because I believe that putting more money on the youth sector will also generate a lot of impact for this country.
NAMS are now poised for a major appropriation bill debate in the coming days. They will be joined by the minister, who is expected to return to the Assembly to take on their questions as the review continues.
You cannot predict Parliament and parliamentarians. We will start debates on the budget on Monday. And sure, I'm expecting a tough debate on it. Like I said, there is no perfect budget.
The minister has set forth priorities in infrastructure, agriculture, tourism, amongst other service sectors. But the Gambia continues to battle debt distress. Minister Njai has made clear that the country's path to economic recovery will be strengthened by viable debt sustainability mechanisms and a strong macroeconomic environment. The NDP is a strategic tool to sustain and revitalize development efforts for the coming years that would demand concerted efforts from all sectors and departments, as highlighted by the Finance and Economic Affairs Minister. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Fatu Ali Kamlushi.
Well, moving on, a two-day capacity building forum on case management for social workers organized by the Minister of Women, Children and Social Welfare on Thursday came to a close. Senabu Janjiri was there and she engaged some of the participants on the outcomes of the information sharing platform. Here's more in this report.
The Ministry of Women's, Children and Social Welfare wraps up a two-day case management training rolled out as part of activities marking 16 days of activism against sexual and gender-based violence. Women's advocates spent an engaging week expanding programs designed to raise capacity and awareness in the crusade to end sexual violence. Here, the Director of Children's Affairs, Bintu H.K. Fati, tells GRTS the core aims of the workshop.
We organized this together with the Social Welfare Unit to give training to social workers in giving psychosocial support on gender-based, to victims of gender-based violence. And most of the time, they are the ones who touch base with survivors at the community level. So this is to enhance their capacity towards case management, to ensure that we employ a victim-centered approach towards case management so that they will be capacitized and have a knowledge on how to do a proper case management that is victim-centered, that is survivor-centered.
Meeting the outcome of the capacity workshop required the engagement of participants involved in social work from different areas. Participants were taken through vital lessons to increase their knowledge on the handling of sensitive matters and GBV case management. Ole Juve, social worker at the Department of Social Welfare, delves into the importance of the capacity training scheme.
This training is very important in the work we do as social workers because we have people come to us every day. You understand? People go through a lot, and we know GBV. It's a big issue in our country. You understand? It happens everywhere. It happens in the community. It happens in school, in our workplaces. So. We are social workers. We are there, to help these victims. Provide psychosocial support to them. Most especially children and women. Yeah. So I've learned a lot from it because yesterday we went through what GBV is, the consequences of gender-based violence.
Social workers Kadi Koli from the Bidkama Regional Office and the Bakote Shelter for Children's, Mariama C, shared their experience from the workshop and ways it will benefit their work.
2 days training is very important for we the social workers, because working with the victim of gender-based violence, sometimes when they do come to our office, sometimes you will not even know how to handle cases sometimes. But with this training, it will able to help us the type of gender-based violence women, girls, and children are going through, and also how to help them to cope with the situation, to make them understand that they are not the only one going through it. There are a lot of people going through gender-based violence. Now is the time for us to wake up and stop it. We have to stop this Maslaha syndrome and work together as one and fight gender-based violence.
Though it's not easy in working with gender-based violence survivors, it's not easy at all, but we as social workers, we do make sure, we ensure that we give them psychosocial support in both male, females, because the issue of gender-based violence is very wide. It does not only concern women or girls, but it also involves boys also, which the society is not talking about. And gender-based violence, this training is very important in capacity building, because us as social workers, we are advocates, and we will hopefully go out to disseminate this information or the knowledge gained here.
With scores of activities going to mark 16 days of activism against GBV, this capacity building workshop will go a long way in enhancing the impact of social workers, supporting women in our communities in effective case management. Sainabu Jang for GRTS News.
The Gambia government, with funding support from the Peace Building Fund of the United Nations Development Programme, on Thursday convened a 2-day capacity building training on mediation and dialogue techniques for its members. Janket tells us more.
The Gambia will enter another electoral cycle in 2021, and the spirit of political intolerance and disregard for the rule of law have sparked fear among local people ahead of the election year. It is against this backdrop that WANEP, in collaboration with UNDP, engages in the party committee in a dialogue to strengthen and coordinate relationships among political actors to avoid conflict and its related matters. Salaman Jai of WANEP dilated on the significance of the forum. Key among them is to hold the potential to reinforce stability and social cohesion in the country.
National cohesion is key to firm up the implementation of reforms, reconciliations, and enhance the country's broadened democracy. A key challenge, therefore, is how to foster social cohesion, stability, and national consensus on issues of public interest. This bespeaks the need to promote trust and confidence building, dialogue and mediation as responses to the emerging security threats and potential violent elections in the future.
The Inter-Party Committee, comprising 16 political parties, was set up with the aim of promoting peace among party members. The co-chairperson of the committee, Honorable Halifa Saleh, said the conclave is crucial to build peace in the country.
The country went through an impasse where almost 200,000 people either became internally displaced persons or refugees. 200,000 people, and the election was won by 200,000 plus. But what followed? Almost 200,000 people became displaced. That is the cost of lack of dialogue, and therefore dialogue is a key tool for survival.
Political parties continue to play key roles in consolidating democracy and sustaining peace in the transitional period. However, the glooming atmosphere of hate propaganda in the political landscape continues to be a threat to the fragile democracy. This the political parties can help to address. The project manager of UNDP, Thomas Kimaru, noted that strengthening capacities of political actors at national and regional levels in the mediation and dialogue process is crucial.
Multipartyism is about looking for common solutions for the socio-economic benefit of a country and citizens. Fostering trust and cooperation between political parties can therefore pave the way for inclusive dialogue, peace, development, and sustainable growth. In the Gambia, the level of trust and collaboration among the political parties has increased over the years as a result of dialogue space provided by the Inter-Party Committee since its revitalization in 2016.
It is expected that the training will provide space for both men and women in understanding methods of promoting dialogue and mediation of disputes in the country. Janke Ture, GRTS News.
The National Environment Agency on Thursday convened a day-long validation meeting of criteria for municipal waste and effluent discharge site selection guidelines in Kanifing. The forum brought together representatives from physical planning, public utilities authorities, councillors, and regional environment offices to discuss means of addressing waste management. We have details in this report by Usman Mane.
The management, protection and promotion of the country's environment and natural resources is the sole responsibility of the National Environment Agency through an act of the National Assembly. With compounded growing development issues, waste management continues to put pressure on the NEA and local government authorities due to the growing population.
Waste collection and disposal is the most expensive part of waste management, because the longer the distance for the final disposal, the more expensive it becomes. And we've seen that, with population increase, urbanization and increase in population, waste that is generated, gets overwhelming. And it's difficult for councils to actually manage.
Currently, there are 3 major disposal sites for solid waste and 1 for effluent services. These sites can no longer meet the demands of people, which inform the NEA to bring stakeholders to validate the criteria for municipal waste and effluent discharge site selection guidelines.
The tanker trucks that normally collect this sewage, will collect it from the regions and bring it to Kotu. And for Basse, they were able to identify a site that was used by MRC and also the locals, where they dump this thing. In fact, I've been there, but it has not undergone any screening process for suitability. So right now with this documents, we would go around again to identify dump sites for the municipal waste and also this effluents from our septic tanks and soccerways.
Program officer at the NEA Bubasi explained that the document went through technical study, and with the validation, it will help in addressing indiscriminate dumping of waste in communities. This, he noted, is against the NEMA Act 1994. The CEO, Janjambure Area Council, Sambali, underscored the importance of the validation meeting.
We had a problem simply because we have some horse carts with donkey carts, which used to collect this waste, and if they collect it, they just go and dump it anywhere they like. This is what brought us here today, so that we can discuss. Every dump site, every place will have its own dump site, and it will be put into that dump site, and the councils will be responsible.
Effluent services consume much of council's finances due to lack of suitable disposal sites in the regions. Mohammed Jabang noted the strain puts on officials.
Tambana is no longer suitable because NAVEC has sunk a lot of boreholes around Tambana, and which is dangerous because the waste can leach and contaminate on the groundwater. And if we have boreholes around that end, it's not safe for us to actually drink from those boreholes. So that makes Tambana unfit for as a dump site as at the moment.
The document will now serve as a guideline for the NEA and councils to identify and select waste disposal sites to create an environment free of pollution and other health hazards. Usman Mane, GRTS.
Armitage Senior Secondary School has received a consignment of 22,000 books and solar lamps, courtesy of a Million Books for Africa project, in a move designed to promote the culture of reading and improve learning outcomes in schools. Modu Lamin Sane tells us more from the Central River region.
conceptualized some 13 years ago with the view to enhancing reading in African schools. A Million Books for Africa organization has refocused attention on the Gambia, providing books to schools across the country. Their latest intervention at the Amite Senior Secondary School saw the organization present 22,000 books and 50 solar lamps to the school to boost their library for effective learning.
This is the first time we are doing that. Paying and transportation. Amite is the only school that has got that since we started 30 years ago. Amite is not only meant for people living in the town or in this island. Amite, the students here present come from all over the country. So if we help Amite, we are helping the entire country.
The main objective of the organization in this crusade is to supply 1 million books to schools across the Gambia.
Books for Africa are internationally recognized for the wonderful and valuable services they have been rendering to our students. Quality education cannot be attained without the availability of books, and of course, relevant books for that matter. These relevant books are the books that Books for Africa will always search for in the wider world and will package and ship to us in Africa here, particularly in the Gambia.
School authorities and students greatly welcome this support program, providing vital curriculum materials to expand education and teaching outcomes.
Here at Armitage, before we first had supplies of these books from grade 5, some time back, our library had almost been empty. However, after receiving some stock of these books, after placing them in our library, we had library session, reading session, compulsory, and even have library session in our individual class timetable.
The books are very important to us as students. One of the most powerful weapons that a student has is the book. So if we read our books, we will make difference. We've seen how our seniors make the school proud. So I guess if we have these books and read, we can make an exponential increase in the number of credits in English language. Because English is made up of skills. And skills cannot be part of us if we didn't practice them. And we can only practice these skills if we have the materials. And one of those materials is the books.
This is among the many interventions A Million Books for Africa intends to distribute in the Gambia as they look forward to promote quality education in the African continent. Modou Lamin Sane reporting for GRTS News from the Central River region.
The Gambia Competition and Consumer Protection Commission on Friday organized a press briefing as part of global commemorations of the World Competition Day on the theme Competition Policy and Access to Healthcare. Kadiatu Juara reports.
This forum joins national efforts to promote competition as an abiding practice guiding business and development. The Executive Secretary, GCCPC, Amadou Cisse, said every year on December 5th, World Competition Day is commemorated globally for consumers and stakeholders to realize the potential and benefits of an effective implementation competition regime.
The theme for this year's celebration is competition policy and access to healthcare. Access to healthcare is wide and it covers a lot of players. The focus today is access to healthcare, but we are focusing on access to safe medicines.
Established to enforce Competition Act of 2007. The Competition Act promotes and enforces fair competition in the country, enabling a level playing field for entrepreneurs and industrial investors. The Executive Director of Medicines Control Agency said the pandemic has made healthcare a top priority, while commending the Competition Commission for effectively.
Healthcare is wide. We're not talking about the clinical part or the diagnostic part, but concentrating or focusing on access to safe medicines, safe quality and efficacious medicines.
The principal pharmacist at the National Pharmaceutical Services, Fatou El Samate, highlighted that this year's theme is in line with global efforts to promote health and advance the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic.
The goal of the Directorate of Pharmaceutical Services and essentially the National Medicines Policy is to contribute to the attainment of quality healthcare services for the population of the Gambia through ensuring the continuous availability, accessibility, affordability of essential medicines that are of appropriate quality, safety and efficacy, and also by promoting their rational use.
Healthy competition among business entities has become a crucial part of industry. GRTS News, I am Khadija Tujuara.
Well, that report by Khadija Tujuara takes us to our first break. We will be back with news from outside the Gambia. Do stay with us.
Do you want to win millions of dollars this December? All you have to do is dial *777# for free or call or SMS 1010 at $3 is only to participate in the new AfriHali show and be part of the 7 daily winners.
Every Tuesday, Wednesday and Fridays live on GRTS, Afri Radio and social media platforms. Be part of our lucky winners.
Where AfriCell goes, nobody dares to follow. In a country always thirsty for more, a team of superheroes with special powers unite to redefine the way we are connected. Make way for Jollyman and his unbeatable smartphone power, coming with 100 free minutes, expanding over 30 days and 30 nights. The $1,500 smartphone empowers you with the dual SIM, FM radio, and 50 days of social media. AfriCell got offers with the power to change the world.
Well, welcome back, and we apologize to come and end the news, but before we go, a quick look about top stories once again. President Adama Barrow has returned home to Banjul after an official visit to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. A panel of 5 judges of the Supreme Court has set aside an unspecified date to deliver judgment on the constitutional immunity claim by the embattled former junta member and one-time minister Yankuba Toure. Finance Minister Mamburi Njai has presented the 2021 appropriation bill before lawmakers at the National Assembly. U.S.-China relations have hit rock bottom under Donald Trump's presidency, despite a deal that was supposed to put their trade battles behind them. And China has condemned war crimes committed by Australian soldiers in Afghanistan. Well, that was all we have for you in this edition of the news at 8 p.m. Thanks for the pleasure of your company, and stay tuned to watch the rest of our interesting programs. Now, we join later the Central Forecast Office for a quick update of the weather.
Good evening, viewers. Welcome to the latest weather report from the Central Forecast Office. First, with the summary. We experienced fairly cool temperatures in the morning, while in the afternoon it was sunny and warm. Tonight it is expected to be mainly clear sky and fairly cool temperatures over places, with occasionally breezy conditions over the western sector. Tomorrow's weather is expected to be fairly cool in the morning, become sunny and warm in the afternoon. Minimum temperatures are expected to be 19 degrees Celsius over the Greater Banjul area and West Coast region, 20 degrees Celsius over North Bank and Lower River region, 21 degrees Celsius over Central and Upper River region. Maximum temperatures are expected to be 33 degrees Celsius over the Greater Banjul area and West Coast region, 36 degrees Celsius over North Bank region, 37 over Lower River region, 38 over Central.